Kidnapped, walking the scene with you in old flicks from the 90s. So keen, the VHS Club, they're the talk of the town. Breaking it down, spreading nostalgia all around. Moving and grooving to the synth-pop sound. Their insight so fresh, painting pictures profound. From Pulp Fiction to Clueless, they know it all. The genuine love for movies stands tall. Unfolding memories on that VHS screen, talking about classics like you've never seen. Katie with her charm, Matt with that wit. Together they make the VHS Club legit.
Welcome back to the VHS Club. We're here. We did it. We're still like a little bit like in shock that it worked out. We tried really hard last week and all the tech failed us, but we are back. We are here. We are ready to talk about tech that doesn't fail us. VHS and VCR. So we are.
Unless the VCR eats our tapes.
Oh yeah, no. Shh, Josh. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm super excited for this episode. This is almost as cursed as Ruthless People. So if you make it through this one, go back and watch the Ruthless People episode. We pulled that one off too. Different vibe for tonight. So we have Josh returning to the show. Nat and I are back. we are not reviewing a movie tonight. So everyone gets to keep their potatoes tonight. Hey, hold on to your potatoes, potato people. We're going to share stories and a bunch of different facts. So if you're hanging out in our live studio audience, hello, I see everyone. Happy belated birthday to Kathy and Doc if he's watching and hasn't commented yet. Drop those like VHS and VCR and old movie stories into the chat because we're happy to pull them up on screen and interact with them. But yeah, Josh, you are our VHS. You and Nat, I shouldn't even be on this episode. I can't find my box of VHS, and my parents have a bunch of them that I now like want to swipe back, but between the two of you, you have quite a lot of VHS. So first question.
I have like 5 VHS tapes.
Oh, all right. Oh, okay. Nat and I are both useless then. I think you had more than that.
I have 117.
117.
Yeah. Most of mine are moldy. They mold, by the way.
They do mold,
Yeah, like vinyl. Yeah, they mold.
They do. They do. All right. Well, hey, Nat. I thought you were. So, do you know how many DVDs you have, Nat?
Oh, probably like 15 to 1800.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's right. So I went through this phase in my life where I was like, well, I don't need these anymore, and so I got rid of like a whole bunch of VHS, and I actually purged down my DVD collection a bunch too. And I'm very sad at past me for doing all of that.
We did. Katie and I, when we were roommates, looked like we lived in Blockbuster. In all fairness, our living room was basically a Blockbuster. Better curated.
Better curated Blockbuster.
Well, it's just I had to purge some of my DVDs before we moved because we moved to a smaller house in 2016. So I didn't have quite as much space as I did in the old house. So.
So do you have all 117, is that what you said? 117 on display? Or are they...
So how I have them is I have one shelf that is 2 rows deep.
So, we're giving visuals for people that are listening.
Yeah. So like the bottom row, second from the bottom, is like double is
Double.
two,
Okay. Yeah. All
two
right.
rows
Layered
down.
up. Yep.
Makes
Yep.
Yeah.
sense.
That makes
Um,
sense. Yeah.
And
We did
actually,
that with
my
our
current
DVDs.
my current collection now, actually, the bottom row is starting to become two
Oh.
rows deep because I got a bunch
Mm-hmm.
a couple of weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago at Ottawa Comic Con. So,
Mm.
and thanks to a friend of mine who picks them up for me as well. So,
Well, Kathy is celebrating that she is older than both VHS and Betamax. So then, Kathy, the follow-up question to you is: how many VHS do you have? And this goes for everyone who's hanging out in our chat. How many do you have? I think if I count the box I can't find upstairs, which has my Disney ones in it, which I know is there somewhere, I just could not find it in time, and then the ones that are my parents, I'm probably at like 30. I'm probably at somewhere around 30. But I've been following these Facebook groups on Facebook, which is highly redundant. I've been following these groups on this amazing platform called Facebook, who are VHS collectors. And Nat, like what you said at the beginning is like something that I did not know, and that is like the biggest point of conversation is like all the VHS collectors out there, of which I am aspiring to become a collector, are like, this is a sealed copy of whatever movie, and everyone else is like, unseal it, the mold, it'll mold, yeah, which makes me so sad.
So the cardboard boxes mold, and then it affects the plastic and the ribbon. Yeah.
but see, they're if you have them stored in a certain way, away from like water,
high humidity,
and humidity.
Live in Montreal, we're a tiny island in a river with lots of humidity.
It's not for you. Collecting is not for you now.
Not for people on islands.
No.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I
do have more Betamax than I have VHS. To be fair.
Oh, so you
better quality.
Yeah.
Which I love when I was researching like stuff of like fun facts about VHS tapes and like the history of VHS, and they're like, allegedly Betamax was better, but there's no evidence of it. I'm like, other than my player in the living room, but like the video quality was better, the sound quality came across better, but it was marketing is a powerful tool, and VHS won because Betamax thought like, we have the better tech, we can't lose. Little did they think that marketing wins.
Well, Val is saying that she has way more than 50 and she's watched them all at some point, and she used to buy them at the video store. Yeah, it's just
they mold.
They mold.
In human places.
In human places. Well, I wanted to start, and then we can jump into some personal stories, but I found this hilarious, at least hilarious to me. Maybe it's not funny to anyone else, but JVC, who is one of the original creators of the VCR, had this document on Wikipedia that was the objectives of what they were trying to design in the world of VCR. So it had to be compatible with any ordinary television set. The picture quality had to be similar to a normal on-air broadcast. The tape had to have at least similar. I know, yeah. Say similar. Not as good as Betamax, according to Nat. The tape must have at least a 2-hour recording capacity. Tapes had to be interchangeable between machines. The overall system should be versatile, so it could be sealed and expanded, etc. And then you could do it, and such as connecting a video camera or dubbing between two recorders, which is like all we did all the time, was just copying stuff back and forth. Recorders had to be affordable, easy to operate, and low maintenance costs, which I don't think they pulled off. We'll talk about in a minute. And then the last one was recorders have to be capable of being produced in high volume. Obviously, their parts have to be interchangeable, and they must be easy to service. They were really expensive. Like the one I have right now, that was my parents' that they bought years back. I think they said that they paid like $800 in like the early 80s for it, which is not a small amount of money. Like that's expensive today compared to
that's affordable.
Yeah, it's affordable.
During a recession in the 80s, a global recession, by the way.
Yeah. Maybe it wasn't quite that, but it was in that range. It was like in the high hundreds.
Several $100s.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah, which is it was interesting to me that like thinking through all of these different things, because they weren't overly affordable, and yet I was born in 83, and we like I don't remember a time where we didn't have have a VCR. Like that was just part of my childhood growing up. I like, do you remember, Nat, any time where you didn't have, like, I mean, you had Betamax?
Well, I remember the Betamax before the VCR.
Yeah.
And we had that probably until the late 80s.
Okay.
Is when I think we got, yeah, because I have Little Mermaid on VHS, and that came out in 89.
90 came out on VHS.
Yeah, 90. So it was probably the early 90s that we got a VHS player. But otherwise, before that, it was the Betamax.
How about you, Josh? Do you remember a time?
No, because we always had a VCR.
Yeah.
Whether at my house or one of my grandparents' places, we always had a VCR. So when we never had like a Laserdisc player or a Betamax player either. Yeah. In fact, I think the first time I ever saw a Betamax was in 1999 when a nurse I had at school brought one to school to show me.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we never had a Betamax.
My Betamax was like, it was kind of like a Volvo, you know, like it was all metal. Yeah. It didn't have any cheap plastic parts. There was it wasn't fragile. Like you could knock that thing off the shelf. If you could knock the thing off the shelf, it would probably dent the floor. And I remember thinking when we got the VHS player, like, wow, it weighs nothing and it's all plastic. And I can still hear my dad raging. Like, I can't believe this is supposed to, like, can't get my Betamax, like, can't get any more Betamax, and I have this stupid, like, piece of plastic that costs more than the other thing. I remember my dad being pretty pissed about it. And I got the whole, like, this is what marketing is, and this is why it sucks, because it wipes out good products. Like, if the other team puts more money in it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, here are some, Doc is sharing some as well, which we'll allow him to give the answer and then we'll post it up here. But did you know, so these are all the facts that I learned over the last couple of weeks. So VHS actually stands for Video Home System. So it was started in the 1970s by Victor Company of Japan, JVC. It won the format war against Betamax, which was owned by Sony, or is owned by Sony. And it was intertwined with the rise of video rentals. So this is where I think the like nostalgia kicks into me.
Yeah.
For me is the idea of rental stores, for me particularly Blockbuster, but certainly like rental video stores everywhere. And then also the idea of a level of control that I don't think that we have anymore. So like, I don't remember going out and buying a lot of VHS until like getting VHS. It was like an expensive, like awesome thing that you get as gifts, etc. But we recorded, right? Exactly. But we recorded a ton of them off TV, and that's not a thing anymore. Like, which I sort of miss, because there's still an ownership and an art form. There's an art form. It's like the mixtape. It's the mix movie where there's like an art form and a personalization and an ownership that streaming services just don't do that. It's not the same. It absolutely is not the same.
You had to sit in front of the TV if you wanted to tape a movie off of TV. Say they're playing Top Gun, and you want to watch it again. So you pop in a blank VHS tape. And then every time a commercial would come on, you'd have to hit pause.
Yep.
And then you'd have to unpause to have a seamless watch without commercials. And it's like you literally had to sit there and concentrate and hope your like trigger finger was good. Otherwise, you'd have like a little zzz of ads in your.
Wow, you were hardcore. So we just recorded them, like, and then we fast forwarded, and it was like so exciting. Like live TV, you couldn't fast forward. You just had to.
My dad taped the commercials on everything he recorded for me. So like I have a tape that has the original broadcast of Star Trek: The Next Generation, The Best of Both Worlds, parts 1 and 2 from 1990.
Yeah,
and there's actually a commercial for Die Hard 2 during the episode.
Yeah. I do love, like, I guess my favorite, like, nostalgic moment of recording recording things on TV is that I used to be super super into watching the like Miss America pageants when I was probably like I don't know 10 through 15 or something like that.
Yeah.
And my dad had taped him one time, and you could you could like set a timer to tape it, and it was on like past my bedtime, and he was like, I've got this, I'm going to tape you this show and whatever. I was like, okay. And I woke up the next morning and I popped it in, and I like was, you know, fast forwarding all the way like through the commercials, the beginning, whatever. We got all the way to the end where they're like going to announce the winner. And it was like, and the winner of the Miss America pageant is, and it was like, and it just stopped. And like he had timed it badly and like used our like fancy VCR. Yeah, it ran over time. And so like the VCR was like, I will only tape it from, you know, from like this hour to this hour, the time you said. And so it was like an iconic moment where it cut off seconds before. There was no internet to like find out. I had to like, I had to
wait
just
till it was published in like the tabloid magazines the next day.
Yeah, exactly. I had to wait for the newspaper. This is the life that we lived in. But I still like remember all of that fondly though, because it was fun. It was fun to tape movies and share movies, and it was fun to go to the movie rental store and get
Rogers Video for me, because as I told Katie in an email, I didn't have a Blockbuster around me.
The horror.
I had Rogers Video.
Was one of the last.
It was one of the last.
Like we had like Video Roma and Videotron and
the like little mom and pop.
Yeah. Yeah, and there was a couple of mom and pop ones. There was one, it was like I want to say Depener. What's a Depener in English?
It's like a corner store.
A corner store. Thank you. Dear God. But they would also sell like at the gas station. There was like the corner store, and like they had a little VHS section. Like and they had those little Velcro tags on it, and you would take the tag and go to the counter with it, and then they'd give you the tape.
That's where we rented our movies from when we moved out to the rural areas and didn't want to spend half an hour going into town to the nearest Rogers Video.
You know, I drove by an old gas station today, up north, about an hour and a half north of Montreal. So it's very rural in the Laurentians. And we had to stop at the gas station, and that's like they still have a section where they rent like DVDs, but I'm like, who's still renting videos? Like, I mean, I know we're in the middle of the forest, like dans la bois, as they say in French, but like
the nearest gas station to me when I was in college was still renting DVDs well into 2012.
Wow.
2013.
Well, rural Quebec still doing it today.
Still today, 2024. They're like
not a lot of
down.
new movies. Let me tell you, it's like mostly old stuff. But I mean, I guess like.
But that's the stuff that's hard to find, though. Yeah. That's the stuff where, like, on streaming services. I literally said to my husband before I came up to do this episode, I was like, okay, this week I promise I'm going to finally like unpack all of the boxes of DVDs, because I've just been renting or buying all these movies as we rewatch them on like Amazon, and I own them. I own them in like a box somewhere. So I understand it is for some of the older movies, like, you know, you remember them, you remember the titles, you know, but they're hard to find. Like Pump Up the Volume was a great example of this.
There's some that never made it to DVD.
Yeah, there were some that never were made into DVD. There were some. There's a lot of them that never have made it over to any kind of streaming service, even if they had a DVD version of them.
I think my favorite example, the movie Never Been Kissed, Drew Barrymore. Katie and I obviously saw it in theaters. You know, teen girls love a teen movie.
A teen girl movie, yep.
And then I have it on VHS tape, or had. It's moldy in a box somewhere, but but then I have it on DVD, and the edit from theater to VHS to DVD is different. Same with Top Gun. Yeah. Totally like there are chunks of the movie missing from like the theatrical release, and then the video release were different. The video release was actually better, and then on DVD it's neither. Like it's not
Star
the
Trek
theatrical origin.
Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan is a great example. You know, the VHS release was the theatrical. But then when it got to DVD in 2002, they had a director's edition
Which is
that
fun.
added a couple of scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
And
why I have things on VHS
That's
DVD.
why, yeah.
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 Because you would get more stuff on the DVDs sometimes, and all the
And
back
it's
behind
why
the
I
scenes
have
things.
the Star Wars trilogy on VHS and DVD, because
Correct.
there's like 3 different versions.
Yeah.
So
I
I'm
remember.
I'm so crazy.
Go
Katie,
ahead,
you
Nat.
remember when we were at Target for
Oh, yeah.
not Boxing Day? What's the other thing? Black Friday.
Black Friday, yeah.
What's the crazy version?
What's
of
the
Boxing
crazy
Day?
version of boxing?
Yeah. Where we saw like 10 police officers tackle one in the parking lot of Walmart. Anyways, we went to Target because they had a special DVD release for Black Friday in the US only
Mhm.
of Star Wars, the original trilogy, on DVD, but it was the theatrical release only, which had
Ooh.
never
yeah.
been on DVD before, and they
No.
came with graphic novels.
Yeah. Worth it.
Obviously still have those.
Wow.
That's actually, it was funny. I was trying to remember like what some of my favorite VHS were. Like if I think about, because as we said, I own a lot of DVD and I have certainly a lot of favorite DVDs. But if I'm thinking specifically about VHS, one of my favorite VHS moments, and I know this one's still at my parents, so I will not cry over losing it. I don't believe it's moldy, so I think I'm okay. So I had just seen Star Wars, and I don't remember. It's funny. What obviously it was not in the theater because I was born in '83, so I don't think I saw it in the theater. But
You missed Return of the Jedi. Yeah.
I missed Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
But my dad bought me a box set on VHS of the 3 movies, and it at the time there was a gold. It was like it was like the Darth Vader's helmet. Remember?
Yes.
I should have thought this. Darth
That's a
Vader's
special
helmet.
edition.
Yeah, and it had a gold, or you could get the silver one. So mine was
Yeah.
gold, which I think was
But they were different.
full screen or
I think one was
widescreen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Gold,
Full screen,
so
widescreen.
gold was full screen.
full screen.
Silver
Okay.
was widescreen.
Okay,
and
so
they
I
did
have
it
the
again
gold.
for DVD release.
Yeah,
They-
and that one was the one where
That way.
Jabba the Hutt. It was like
Yeah.
the scene with Jabba the Hutt was like digitally remastered,
like
and they like messed with
Crappy
it.
1997.
They made him
CG.
skinny. Remember
made him
skinny
skinny,
Jabba
yeah.
the Hutt? And we were like, what the fuck, George Lucas? Like, why? Like, who was responsible for this? He lost weight halfway through the movie? Like, oh my god, we were so mean.
So that is my first
And-
like memory of a VHS that I owned that was like intensely
Yeah.
special to me. So
Yeah,
Josh,
that-
you
that-
what's
remember
your
they
what's your
changed-
first
So my first
or your first
that
memory of your
comes to mind
that comes to mind?
is the 1991 VHS release of The Jungle Book.
Ooh, good one.
It's in
Yep.
the picture, some of the pictures that I sent you as well.
Let me see
In,
here. I'll see if we can spot
yeah,
it. There it
right
is.
beside the Next Generation one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I have
that
that.
was one of the
Actually-
first movies that I had on VHS. That wasn't like one of the Winnie the Pooh shorts or the Disney sing-along songs tapes.
You know
Those are
what?
great.
Those Disney ones in their plastic like boxes,
Yeah.
their cases, those are the ones that didn't mold, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Disney's
Because they
not
weren't
messing
in
around.
cardboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Disney's
Yeah.
not messing around.
So that was
Uh,
I'd seen the movie in theaters. That was my first theater experience.
okay.
By the
all
way,
right.
the 1990 theatrical re-release, and I loved it in theater. And so someone got it for me on VHS, that edition, but not that copy. That's a copy my friend gave me.
Okay.
Mhm.
But that edition, I watched that so many times. I'm surprised I didn't wear the tape out.
I've done that.
Uh-huh.
I've done that. Dick Tracy ruined the tape.
Oh yeah,
My brother and I watched it incessantly.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
We
Doc
had
is
that at my
saying that
grandparents'
his
place.
first was Enter the Dragon.
Oh.
My brother has all of those, I think on DVD. But yeah, all the Bruce Lee movies. Oh
Mm.
my god, we've seen them like 100 times. That's
So
them.
what was your first, Nat?
my
Or first memory?
Well, to circle back to Star Wars, when they did the re-release, because they re-released the
They've
original
re-released them
trilogy
so
in
many
theaters,
times. Yeah. Yeah.
and that's when the box sets came out on VHS. And they got rid of the Yup Yup song in Return of the Jedi,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm
Mhm.
still very upset.
See, I was lucky
I'm
because
holding
I
that
saw
grudge
the
to the grave, guys, and beyond, to be honest.
I saw the original trilogy on VHS in late 1995, 1996. My dad got the One Last Time VHS box set that came out just before the special
Before the
editions came
re-release.
out. Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's the one you want.
yeah,
That's why I have like 5 versions of
Yeah.
Star Wars original
and
trilogy
yeah,
on
and
multimedia.
on each tape is an interview with George Lucas conducted by
Oh.
Leonard Maltin.
Oh.
And you can tell it's from the interviews from 1995 because George Lucas is talking about the special editions that he was working on at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And he was writing the script for the prequels.
Yeah.
None of them had come out yet. But he was working on the Phantom Menace at that time.
Remember the hope we had for Phantom Menace being good and the dashing of our dreams.
I'm just gonna say on the rewatch, and also after the movies came out, I read the books.
Okay.
And on the rewatch, I'm like, they're not half as bad as we said they were.
Okay.
No.
They're
I've
not.
rewatched 2 and 3, but I
Just
don't
a-
think
it's a
I've
bit of
ever
a bad
rewatched one, so I'll have to give
So
one a
just
the
chance.
thing is,
Bad edit, and apparently when Disney Plus came out,
Yeah.
like the Gen Z or whatever are obsessed with Jar Jar Binks. So I'm like, well,
Yeah.
George Lucas was right; his timing was off.
but
Like,
see, the thing
like
is
kids
too
loved him.
is that he was making the films for that film specifically for 10 to 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
I was 12 years old when the Phantom Menace came out.
What did you think
Yeah.
of it?
I loved it in theaters when
there
I
you
saw
go.
it. I saw it 2
Qui-Gon
weeks in a row.
and Qui-Gon Jinn and what's his face?
Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan.
No. Qui-Gon Jinn and the spiky yellow eyes, red, black. Oh my
It's
god.
Darth
So
Maul.
long since I've
Darth
seen
Maul.
it.
Oh my
Darth
god.
Maul.
That like dun 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 dun. I'm like
Yeah.
epic on surround sound. Like that is probably one of the best scenes in the whole franchise. Like honestly. I'm like I have seen it a million times. So a fun fact about VHS, the first movie ever released on VHS was MASH.
MASH.
I have
Wow.
that, and this one is in working condition.
Perfect.
But this
Yeah,
was also
Ma-
this was not the original one. This is the special edition release. So
Yeah.
this was released in I think the 90s.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
It
was
was
late 90s.
reprinted in the 90s.
That
Yeah,
one-
but
You can-
yeah, MASH.
You can
That
tell by
one-
the
Great.
studio logo on the side of the tape. They changed that
Yeah.
midway through they changed those midway through the 90s. Yeah, at the top of the tape, the studio
Oh
logo.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, you can see
Yeah.
where
Special.
when it was changed. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, this is a
but
fun
yeah,
fact from
phenomenal movie.
it's a fun fact
Donald
coming in
Sutherland.
from Hank Russell saying the best-selling movie sold on VHS was The Lion King in
Yes.
1995. 32 million
Not a
copies
surprise.
sold. I own
Yeah,
that one
yeah.
on VHS
Yeah, so do I.
and DVD
mean-
actually.
Yeah, so do I. I mean, I saw
The
that one in
last-
theaters in 1994. That was like my
Iconic,
mom
yeah.
took my siblings and I to go see it, and then we got it on VHS for like right after it came out.
Yeah.
I
in
lied.
95.
MASH wasn't the first movie.
It was
something
MASH,
called
Sound of
The Young
Music.
Teacher.
Oh, yeah, there was
Young
the
Teacher
first-
was the first movie.
Well,
ever
there was-
released, but it was like it's a movie that nobody's ever heard of. kind
Yeah, I
of
have
thing.
it.
Like, it's
I have
not
it
popular.
here. So that was a South Korean drama
Yeah.
called The Young Teacher.
Yeah.
The first 3 American films
American,
released were
yes.
MASH, Sound of Music, and Patton. So
I have all of those on VHS.
Mm-hmm.
that's my collection plus like a Disney one. The Little Mermaid.
well, raise your hand either here or in the chat if one of those was a movie that your grandparents had. Apparently, everyone's grandparents owned The Sound of Music. That was like
My
the
mom
one
actually
movie.
had
There you go. I was
My
gonna
mom
say.
had it.
My grandparents didn't have a VHS player or
Oh,
any.
there you go.
these,
There you
But
go.
My
they're
grand-
like different generation.
So my mom's parents probably got a VCR because of me
Yeah.
and my siblings.
Yeah.
Because A, they were always taping Star Trek for us when we didn't have cable and didn't have access to the next generation.
Yeah.
And B, they would buy tapes for us and keep them at their place.
Oh
for
yeah,
us to
so that
watch
you
there.
had to go over. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You can't just there's got to be an incentive to
Yeah,
get you
exactly.
to get you in.
Exactly.
I love this comment from Doc. This was, I totally agree, the ultimate cardinal sin of the sibling, parent, or significant other taping over your favorite thing,
Oh, yeah.
right? How many
But
divorces
I
have
haven't
happened?
watched that episode yet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I needed to tape you. Like, we taped it like last week. Why didn't you watch it? It's like, ah! And it's not like there were reruns until like the summer when there was no new programming in the summer.
Yeah.
Now there's like, because TV used to be split. Like there was the fall
Yeah.
debuts, and then
Yeah.
there was a break in the winter, and then there was the winter, like spring debuts, and then
Yeah, they were like
TV
mid-season replacements.
Mm-hmm.
Is what
Yeah,
they
and then
call
there
them.
was but there were specifically like fall shows and winter shows that were
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then there was nothing in the summer except for reruns and
Yeah.
like game shows. So it's like if you missed an episode, you'd have to wait and hope you got it on rerun after May.
Mhm.
You know, like, so
Yeah.
yeah, it was crazy. So if somebody taped over your episode, God, that was the worst.
Yeah. Well,
Anyone else do the Columbia? I did not do this, Doc, because again, the three of us here on are Canadian, so I don't
I-
know if it was as helpful
We did
for
have it,
us. We
but
didn't
it was
have.
not as cheap.
Yeah.
I got two of them specifically. One of them is in the picture with the Jungle Book.
All right, let's go back to the Jungle Book. Here we
So
go.
Star Trek: The Next Generation, the collector's edition. That was from Columbia House.
There
My
you
grandmother
go.
bought the first two volumes for me when I was a kid. They were like
Aw.
my first two Star Trek tapes ever. Actually, probably my first two Star Trek things ever. And so, yeah, when I found that copy at a thrift store, I picked it up immediately because I'm like, no, that's Encounter at Farpoint. That's the tape my grandmother got me
Aw. There is
like
such a
30 years ago.
there's something about, and I will say actually, like as a more of a DVD person, they're like, as I was thinking about this episode and even just thinking about this show in general, there is something that's like much more tactile and fun about VHS than about DVDs.
Yeah.
Even like the idea of like fast forwarding, as we were talking about earlier, the idea of like getting to like tape or record your own stuff on VHS, like it feels more, I don't know, like fun, and it has a higher level of nostalgia for me than a DVD
Yeah.
does. I love DVDs because they had like the
So do I.
special edition stuff where it was all
eggs.
the Easter eggs and extra
Backstage,
stuff.
behind the scenes.
Yeah, the
things,
bonus
like
features are
outtakes,
amazing on DVDs.
blooper reels.
Blooper reels. But
Yeah.
there's something about like just the like sound of the VHS and of the rewinding and
just
fast
The
forwarding.
only issue,
Yeah.
as your VHS player wore down, because
We did.
they were not as sturdy as a
Yeah.
Betamax. Okay, like as they wore down, rewinding tapes would take a lot of energy and wear parts down. So I'm going to show you guys, and if you are listening, you can check out our Instagram. I posted a picture. I have this red
Mhm.
Corvette that you would pop open, put your tape in,
Yeah.
close it, and it rewinds the tape for you, so it wouldn't burn out.
And
And then it
your
would like
VHS
pop open
player.
at the end. It was like,
Yeah,
done.
when it's done, it would go.
See, we should have had one of those, but I don't think anybody could find one that was cheap enough for us to afford it.
Yeah,
This-
I
This
didn't
I
have
think
one
my
either.
mom got from like Avon or Regal magazine or one of those like things, and it was on sale and it was cheap, so she ended up getting two. Like it was
Oh, wow.
because they were like really on sale, and it was also near the end of VHS tapes. but-
Okay, yeah.
Mm.
yeah, so it ended up being more affordable because also it became impossible to replace the stupid machines.
Yeah.
Well, this is what's funny about it. So I said at the beginning, my parents had this VCR that I still have downstairs. It still works like a charm. You pop things in, it just goes. And we watched a lot of movies. Like we watched way more movies growing up than I do with my kids. Like just preposterous amounts of movies. And yet it's still like completely fine. And we did not have a rewinder. My dad took it in to get serviced twice, I think, because it was so expensive when he initially bought it that they were like, we're gonna just take it in and get it fixed. But yeah, we're gonna fix this. Unlike a DVD player or whatever else past that. But I am marveled at how like completely fine it is compared to how disposable technology is now. Like you're like
Exactly.
I mean, even like phones, you're like, well, that's done.
Like,
We'll get another one.
Every 5 years, I have to buy a new laptop because
Yeah.
mine craps out on me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I have a MacBook. It lasts about 12 years on average.
Yeah.
So I'm rocking them pretty hard. So yeah, I'm a decent user of my laptop.
Yeah.
So
Very-
I'm like, they last.
Very important question coming in from Victor. Have you ever watched Disney's Recess and Lizzie McGuire?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's past my time.
It's past my time and I still love both.
Well, you have
shows and
a
movies.
daughter.
It's not even my daughter. Yeah.
Recently, I guess during lockdown, I tried, like on Disney Plus, I'm just looking for stuff to watch. And I tried watching Lizzie McGuire and I'm like, it's past my time.
I love the Lizzie McGuire movie. I recently rewatched that one with Scarlett. I loved it.
I didn't finish the movie, but I hope she ends up with her best friend because I like that trope.
It all works out. It works out.
Okay, good. So there we go. I love that. That's
I have a younger sister,
Mm.
and so she was the right age for Lizzie McGuire.
So you were the right age for Lizzie McGuire.
So
I had a younger
watched it
brother,
with
so that
her
didn't work out.
a lot. Yeah.
Nice.
All right, I'm going through all of our facts, make sure we don't. And I love that a lot of our tater tots are guessing some of these facts too. So Hank has this one as well. So Titanic, which I also had that one on VHS, was the only movie available on VHS and in theaters at the same time. The last movie was A History of Violence.
Well, Titanic was so popular that they had to keep it in theaters, but they couldn't.
Forever.
They extended. I was going to say that they extended the run in theaters. I think like 3 or 4 times because normally you have a certain release like run in theaters, but then they just are like, we're going to extend the run in theaters. We're going to. So the VHS came out on scheduled time for when the movie should have been out of theaters, but I think it ran for like. It was more than 6 months, I think, in theaters. It was crazy.
It was the
Katie
only.
and I have probably seen it a few times.
It was actually to my memory, up until that time, certainly since then I've seen, but it was the only movie I had seen more than once in the theater. Like I paid money to go to. I watched movies over and over and over again at home, but it was the one that I definitely went back to the theater to see.
Yeah, Katie and I definitely did a few together even.
Yeah, there was one I saw in the front row, which was real intense. You're like,
so close.
I saw
such a big iceberg
to watch it.
I was there was a disability group at the Ottawa Children's Treatment Center that I was part of, and we went to see a movie. Well, Titanic was the only one everyone could agree on because it wasn't Spice World. The guys were adamant they would not go see Spice World.
Spice World is amazing. It is so camp. It is so camp and funny. And
I like the Spice Girls.
Watch it as an adult, amazing.
Yeah, I liked the Spice Girls when I was a kid.
Who didn't?
A lot of the boys.
Are
in my disability group. So they were adamant about not going to see Spice World, even though the girls were pushing for it.
You know that I'm in the mindset for next week's episode. So next week on the show, we're reviewing
Spice World,
Dune, 1980s Dune. And so the second you said Spice World, I was like, the spice, totally in Dune mode. But also we should do. We're going to spooky season. I was gonna say we should do Spice World on the other side of Dune, but it's not a spooky movie, so we can't. We have to wait.
Kodak Film has on their current website has a fact page.
They do. I pulled some.
Which we have a lot of that info here, but my favorite, I don't know what copywriter they had write this, but kudos. Kodak give them a raise because one of the facts is 2016, pour one out for your homies. 2016 is when the very last VCR was manufactured.
Yep, there it is.
I guess not everything goes gentle into that good night.
Nope.
Whoever wrote that, I love you. That is hilarious. I actually laughed so hard when I read that. I'm like, everything else is just like The Lion King, History of Violence, $3,500,
but
blah blah blah. And it's like pour one up for homies.
So hang on for a second. Let's just appreciate this for a second. Both how amazing that person is. Pour one out for you, and then also VHS was surpassed by DVD in 2003, and yet they were still 2016 was when the last VCR was made. That is impressive. Like the overlap and the length of the overlap is really impressive. And if you think about now, we're seeing a huge resurgence of people who are like rushing out to all of the, thrift shops and garage sales and whatever, and buying VCRs, VHS, DVD players, like media where they can actually, and they still work, which blows my mind.
So people seem to think that DVD replaced VHS. Blu-ray replaced VHS because of that overlap that was so long for when DVD started to when VHS stopped.
Yeah, it is actually kind of crazy because if I think about it, like, so again, I'm going to continue to age myself and date myself in this episode, but born in 1983. All right. So VHS all the way through until I was 18 or so. And I worked at Blockbuster for a long period of time. And I remember when I first started dating my now husband, I was 18 years old. We did not own a DVD player, neither his family or my family. And the video stores were starting to move over to like only DVD. Like for a very long time, they had both DVD and VHS. Yeah. And so we borrowed a DVD player from his dad's office to watch movies that we rented, and like not even bought one, borrowed one to watch these. But that was like, I mean, like much after DVD had surpassed it. So I think you're right, Josh. Like I think there was like such an overlap for a really long time, and then it took a very long time for Blu-ray to be the winner because there were competitors to Blu-ray as well, in the same way that there were competitors to Betamax.
To be fair, still don't have a Blu-ray player, still don't own a Blu-ray. Like, I never don't have them. They were useless to me, and they were overpriced. And also because they're supposed to have, like, more high def and whatever. I'm like, I don't need to see the pores on Brad Pitt's face. Like, thanks.
I was joking that
Animal Planet, great. But everything else, no.
I didn't need to see Yoda's nose hairs.
Nope.
Empire Strikes Back.
Nope.
So I remember before my VHS rewinder, I'm going to pull out my VHS tape for our viewers. There's like, you could open the top.
Yes.
Like if the ribbon got cut, so you could throw the top back so your ribbon's exposed. Yeah. And sometimes you'd have to do that when the machine ate your tape. So it's all crinkled. You're trying to roll it back either with your finger or sometimes like with a pencil.
Oh, yes.
To try and get it back in. And you're trying to get the tape back in. I'm like, oh man, the stress of that. You're like, please work again. Oh, yeah. Don't get caught in the tape again.
So we had a top. So when we first moved out to the country, we lived in this old log house. And on the second floor in the common area outside the 3 bedrooms, my brother, sister, and I had this playroom area where we had like a VCR, TV, the original Nintendo, and our toys and books. We had a top loader VHS player, top loading VCR.
Oh, my Betamax was the top loader.
Whip it out.
And
let's see it.
Are
you kidding me? That thing weighs like 20 pounds. I can't just whip it out.
It ate 2 of my tapes. It was an Ewoks tape that I got for my birthday or something. And then it ate my brother's Thomas the Tank Engine tape.
No. No.
Yeah.
Ringo. And in case you guys haven't seen whatever Thomas the Tank and whatever that was called, I can't remember what the show
Shining
itself
Time
is called.
Station.
Shining Time Station. Yeah.
Ringo Starr was the conductor on it.
And so was George Carlin after a while.
Yeah, but like just for a little, acting
for fun.
career that Ringo Starr had. Like literally the only reason I watched it because my dad was like, "Oh, that's Ringo." I'm like, "I'm all in." Obsessed with the Beatles at a very young age, as toddlers do.
So that top loader VHS player got replaced very, very quickly after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. Awesome. I remember like fixing VHS, as Nat just showed there, but I don't remember. I have thankfully have no memory of like any tapes getting completely destroyed. I remember fixing a couple of them, but I feel like I had more issue with mixed
I remember,
cassette tapes than I did with
like,
VHS.
gingerly pulling the ribbon out of that tiny
Oh.
little slot, and you're trying to get your fingers in there.
Yeah.
You don't want to pull too hard.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
very
part of the
fragile.
problem too is that because it was for whatever reason, the tape got stuck in the top loader as well.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
like
yeah.
you know, like not only were the tapes destroyed, but the VCR wasn't working anymore anyway. So
Oh.
You lose your tape and your player. Awful.
yeah.
All right, very important question for both of you and then for the studio audience as well. Did you have a family night, movie night? Did you do like
Obviously.
movie and pizza, and did you have the whole family night experience?
It was Thursday night, payday.
Oh, Thursday. Nice.
Yeah.
We'd go get some like takeout or something, like, you know, like a special
Mhm.
treat, and then go to the video store
Mhm.
and pick a family movie. And my parents always got two movies, like
Yeah.
a family movie and then one for them to
And
watch
then the
when they
adult
went to
movie.
bed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you got to keep them for a few days. It wasn't like a
Mhm.
24-hour rental. So
Yeah,
so
at
we'd get
Rogers,
to
there
watch it.
was
We'd have to
5-day
watch
rentals.
the tape. You'd watch it as often as
Yeah.
possible. You'd squeeze
Yeah.
it in like 2-3 days. You'd watch it like
Yeah.
maybe 50 times.
Yep.
Yeah.
We rented. There's like several movies that we rented all the time from Rogers Video. You know, my mom would take my brother, sister, and I in, and we would each get to pick a tape.
Ooh.
Didn't matter if it was a TV show or a movie. We each
3
got to pick a tape. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's
Nice.
fancy.
And so it was usually like an episode of Rainbow Bright on VHS because that's the only way we could see that show because
Yeah.
it
I love
never
that
aired in
show.
reruns on any channel that we got. And then there was like Sesame Street presents Follow That Bird. It was like the very first Sesame Street movie. And then stuff like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh, yeah.
Charlotte's Web and movies like that. So
I'm just going to
Yeah.
say I love the book Charlotte's Web, but even as a child, disassociated the fact that it was a spider.
Yeah,
'Cause
Nat
I'm
doesn't like
arachnophobic.
spiders.
um,
And then when the movie was like all popular in the 90s, I'm like, no.
Hard
it.
pass. Hard pass.
Yeah.
but see,
I
the
fully
thing
read
is,
the book and pretended she wasn't a spider. Like as a child, like in what grade 2 or 3, I'm like, nope.
see,
Not
a lot
spider.
of our movie nights tended to be when I was more of a teenager, just because
Mhm.
of when my dad worked.
Yeah.
When I was younger, my mom would watch movies and TV shows with my brother, sister, and I on like, and this was like pre our watching TGIF on Friday nights. So it was usually
Mm.
Friday nights or Saturday nights.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we
TGIF.
went to Rogers Video a lot
Yeah,
when I
we
was growing up.
went. That was as you said, Nat. It was like such a treat. I feel like for us, it was like most weekends. Like it was part of
Well,
the
'cause
kind of
you'd
weekend
rent
experience.
it
It was
Thursday, then you
yeah.
have to return it Sunday. It was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And like my
most
dad would return it
weekends-
on his
yeah.
the tapes on his way to work
Yeah.
on like Monday morning.
Yeah.
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 So
No, it was fantastic. It was such a treat. And then
yeah.
it was especially fun when it was like Katie's dad would be like, "Hey, go get Nat. We're gonna go to the video store. Let's go pick something." It's like, yes, we get to go
Yes.
together. Like, it's just so
Well,
much fun.
And then there was a couple of times where, you know, I would have a doctor's appointment at the hospital and I'd have to have blood work done or an x-ray done or, you know, God forbid, a blood transfusion
Ooh, yeah.
occasionally. And my mom would stop at Rogers on the way home
Mm-hmm.
from the hospital.
You know
And
what?
she would rent something for me
Yeah.
specifically.
Yep.
I think even
Just
as
so
an
I'd have
adult,
something to do.
like, show of hands, who doesn't have like a doctor appointment or a medical appointment that doesn't get themselves a little treat on the
Yeah,
way
you
home?
need a little
Still
treat.
as an adult, I'm like,
Yeah.
I still
But
do that. I'm like,
I
I'm
had to
gonna go
be-
get a taste.
I had to be good
Yeah.
during the blood
Yeah.
work
Yeah.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
otherwise I would have to forfeit the treat.
Yeah,
for
you
that
had to.
time.
Yeah. Well, now everyone
Bribery.
deserves a little
That's
treat.
fair.
We all
Yeah.
deserve a little treat when we've had a bad day, whether it's a movie or whatever else.
Yeah.
Definitely a little treat. Yeah, I think I talked in last episode or the episode before, but my Mine was definitely the going to video stores with Nat, with other friends, and then that transitioned into like friend movie nights as well, like sleepover parties and movie nights. But the special one for me was always when I was not feeling well. It was like, as you were saying, it was like a pick me up or a feel better. Was my mom was always, and most of the Disney movies that I have are a result of that. And and my love for like slapstick ridiculous comedies, like all of like the like Naked Gun movies and the vacation movies and like all of that is a direct result of that. My first time watching Grease was that, like my mom was just like, let's watch a movie. Let's watch Wheel of Fortune, not Wheel of Fortune, Price is Right, and then soap operas and then a movie. Those were the route of being homesick and the enjoyment of being homesick.
And part of that for me too is watching YTV and getting to watch like Batman and Power Rangers at 5 o'clock and 5:30 at night. Actually, one of my taped off TV VHS tapes is 5 episodes of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers taped from 1994. Two of them were taped from YTV. So it has the Zone logo bumper before the episodes. And
for people who are watching that are really confused, YTV was like youth television in Canada and was like the best thing for us to watch.
It had everything. It had Nickelodeon shows on it. It had like Cartoon Network shows on it.
And between episodes, because like episodes are like 22 to 24 minutes, so then you have a gap until the next half hour like show starts. We had like VJs. Like video jockeys. Video jockeys. So it's like it was like
PJs,
entertainment like characters, like actors that came on and were like, welcome to YTV and like in the zone this after. Anyways, it was fun. It was such a great station, really geared just to a child audience. And it was safe for parents to be like, you're watching YTV, good.
And like
not Jerry Springer.
But the thing about the Power Rangers tape that isn't on like the retail releases for Power Rangers or the DVDs is that today on Power Rangers, like preview of that episode before the theme song.
Yeah, a lot of shows used to do that, like on tonight's episode, and like give you like sort of a recap, like Murder, She Wrote. You know, it's like on tonight's episode, Angela or Jessica.
They still do the recaps, but they don't do the like
they don't do the preview.
Yeah,
a recap of last episode, but not a preview of tonight's episode.
But like the announcer is just like, can the Power Rangers stop Rita's latest scheme? Find out next on the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And then we go into the theme song, and it's like, yes.
I want to point out, Kathy had mentioned one of the most, I guess, culturally like iconic things of VHS tapes was the saying, be kind and rewind.
Yeah.
Yes.
So video stores would get tapes back, but then it's like they'd have to spend like the whole day rewinding tapes, but then it's not out to, as Katie can attest, because she worked at Blockbuster. It's infuriating if people are complete like douches and bring back the tape but didn't rewind it, and then it's like there's 10 people waiting to rent it, but it's not rewound yet. So be kind, rewind. It's such a common phrase. People like, it's just something everybody knew and everybody says. And isn't there a Jack Black movie called
There is a Jack, it's actually I like it. It's a fun movie.
Yeah, Katie and I enjoyed Jack Black.
we always rewound our tapes before taking them back.
It was like a cardinal sin. I remember when Blockbuster started charging you.
They would charge you.
And you couldn't rent unless you went to go pay. Like
there was a couple
rewind
of
fees.
Just from the thrift stores. There were a couple of tapes that I've gotten that weren't rewound.
And you're like,
I was upset.
Jerks.
Like, took this to the thrift store and you didn't rewind
after the fact, you're like, oh, these people 30 years ago didn't rewind their tape.
Maybe their VCR like died and they were like, okay, I guess we'll get rid of all these things.
But like, there was one of the very first VHS tapes I ever picked up when I started collecting again. I thought I had gotten George of the Jungle from 1997, Brendan Fraser.
Love 90s Brendan Fraser, or just Brendan Fraser in general.
I took the tape out of the box. It was Jumanji.
Still a good movie though.
Put Jumanji in the George of the Jungle.
I mean, I guess there's a J in both titles.
Yeah.
G
I mean,
in one and J
Jumanji's
in
kind
the
of a win, but also
Yeah,
love
yeah.
George of the
Yeah.
Jungle too.
yeah. So it's just like, really? I wanted
Yeah.
Georgia. I could get Jumanji anytime.
Yeah, Brendan Fraser is quite the hot ticket again. Thank
Yeah.
Yeah,
God. Thank God
yeah,
he's back in our graces and on our screens. We
yes.
love him.
Oh, and
Hank
Which
is the
makes me
opposite
think,
from us. Hank was the badass that didn't rewind his tapes.
Hank.
Hank. Oh no. I don't have angry sound effects. Let me see.
Hank, if you come back on our show, you're going to have to apologize to all of those former video store employees. Hank.
Yeah. All right, we got to make sure we're nearing the end of our episode. We got to make sure we've covered all of our facts. All right. We talked a little bit about the price of VCRs, but these are staggering numbers, you guys. They were $1,000 to $1,400 in 1975 when they were first introduced. That's the equivalent of like between $4,000 and $6,000.
So
That's
only
a
1%
crap
had
ton of
VHS
money.
tapes,
Yeah.
or VCRs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But then they dropped substantially. So in the 80s, you could get one between 200 and 400. So my parents definitely got ripped off. And then which is the equivalent of about $475 to $940 in today's dollar, which is still crazy
So-
and way more expensive than DVD players were and
Yeah.
are. Like, just nuts.
yeah,
I think at the end of VHS players, like when you started hitting late 90s to the aughts, they started to become more expensive again because there wasn't as much manufacturing happening and there wasn't as much, there were no more repair people.
Yeah.
Like, once DVDs started to become popular, they started to get really pricey. And I feel like my parents, your parents probably got one near the tail end of it and they got
Maybe.
stupid expensive
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember we're going to like the Hudson Bay or to like Sears trying to find like one on sale. Like, have a backup just in case this one crapped out again. And then there was the hybrids. You remember the hybrid
Oh,
VHS
yeah.
and DVD players?
I had that one for a very
I
long
actually
time.
have one.
You still
That's
have
my
one?
favorite. Yeah, the DVD player part doesn't work. VHS player works perfect.
The lasers break down and get stuck and they go yeah.
I have to admit, for all the for everyone being like, well, DVDs compared to VHS, the amount of crap that we had with it, like the DVDs were so frail. It like they were constantly getting scratched or broken in some way or the other, and like you were constantly like, what's on it, and you're trying to like wipe it gently. Whereas a VHS, like it took a lot. You had to really beat those things up though to get them to like break.
Yeah. I mean, other than having a rewinder, which I highly recommend for VHS, for DVDs, if you take a nylon stocking, like a woman's nylon stocking, and gently buff the bottom side of your laser disc, it helps get out minor scratches.
Oh, there you go.
In case people are still using these ancient technology.
People are. I'm not joking when I said that. So once we started doing this show and I was like looking for kind of people that were talking all about VHS and about old movies and kind of into that space, there are a ton of people who are collecting. There's a huge movement now because of the increase of costs in streaming services and the fact that like 1 week all the shows you want to watch are on one service and then the next week they're like, nope, not here anymore. Now you have to get this other service over here. If you're trying to binge watch, 12 seasons of Star Trek or whatever, it's like it's a nightmare to try to move back and forth. And there is something in physically having them. Like, and again, there's lots of movies that aren't available even on DVD or on streaming services. So it is nice to be able to have those.
The Disney sing-along songs tapes, for example.
Love
Very few
sing-along.
made them onto DVD. There's a few.
The Looney
like,
Tunes sing along is what I have. I have a bunch of
in
those.
the one of the pictures that I sent for this episode, I have my DVD copy of The Bare Necessities, Disney sing-along songs, The Bare Necessities.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas like two of the other ones never made it onto DVD. Disneyland Fun did, which I also have, but the other two didn't.
Wow.
Wow, that's crazy.
Oh,
All right, well,
Yeah,
with,
we
like,
we lost some stuff
we lost some stuff,
Yeah.
in the
but
shuffle of time.
it's starting. It has been reassuring and kind of fun to see it moving into this like resurgence and a collector's
Yeah.
market, and people getting like excited about finding them at
Yeah.
at flea markets and garage sales and whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's a fun space, and I'm definitely in the headspace now where I'm like, oh, like I want to go and find the ones that I know I have. I want to like fill in the gaps of ones I want to collect. I want to unbox all of my my DVDs and put them back out again. So I think it's a fun time, and I like that we're living through it again.
And it's fun knowing what edition you want to, because like
Yeah.
Spaceballs, I found that on VHS at Ottawa Comic Con almost 2 weeks ago. And it was the exact edition that I had seen the movie on when I was a kid
Yeah.
in
Oh,
like
that's great.
1999, 2000. So, and like I recognized it from the cover art,
Wow.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, that's
It takes you
the
right
edition.
back.
Yeah.
Takes you right back. I love, so I missed a couple of Doc's facts. I want to throw them in here before we close. So Doc said, did you know the Gold Star Dual VHS was so popular it launched a now massive company, and that company is Lucky Gold Star, which is now LG.
Oh,
Which
wow.
makes a lot beyond VHS, these days.
Yeah.
They really stepped it up.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And then there was another fact I thought was really cool. So Doc's with UNet. So on beta, they had a commercial skip.
Yeah.
And he said that VHS got commercial skip on Panasonic first and then everyone. So my VCR was definitely older than that because we did not have any kind
I
of
did
Yeah,
not have
it's not
commercial
in
skip. Was that not available in Canada? Like, did
I
we
guess
get
Yeah,
ripped off?
because like my dad, if he usually just recorded the commercials, but whenever he didn't, he would have to sit there and watch the show or movie that he was recording to stop during commercials
Yeah.
and then start the recording again once the commercial break was done.
My dad was an absolute rock star and would stay up if there was a movie playing at night. He would like
Yeah.
stay up to tape it for us without commercials.
Oh,
It's
wow.
like we were spoiled.
Yeah. No, I didn't have that. Although I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm just like so like excited by movies. I was just like thrilled and delighted by the fact that I didn't have to sit. I actually don't mind commercials at all. I still don't mind watching commercials. It must be the marketer
I mean,
in
we
me,
grew
but
up with it, right?
I actually really enjoy them, or enjoy having the time to run and get snacks. But
Yeah.
Bathroom breaks,
etc.
Yeah.
But I loved that you could it was so novel to me that you could fast forward. I was just like, this is incredible. Like if I was watching this on TV,
Or if you missed something,
we would have
you
to
could
watch.
rewind.
You could rewind it. Yeah.
Fun story, Katie's dad is in aviation. So any movie, no matter what we were watching, if there was a plane, the pause button was hit at lightning speed.
Yeah.
And then we got the whole history,
history
of
of
the
the
plane and the
plane, yeah.
mechanics of the plane. I still remember watching Top Gun, and your dad's like, they're literally flying the planes wrong. And here's why, and I'll tell you what they're supposed to be doing. It was
Must have been fun watching
the best.
Airplane and Airplane 2 then, because
All of them,
both
yeah.
movies are all about airplanes.
Well, and you know what actually is the worst about it, that still my dad does still all of that, but also my husband does now too. But the because he is now a pilot, so it's over. But what they will both point out to me is what kind of plane it is, and then my dad specifically will get really angry because you'll see these movies all the time. This happens in almost every movie. You have
Everything
like
you're watching.
someone walk in front of a plane like they're about to get on like a private jet, and so he'll be like, pause, that's a blah 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 plane, and we're like, okay, great. And then we continue on with the movie, and a couple scenes later he pauses again. He's like, that right there, that's not the same inside of the plane. That is not a Cessna blah 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 plane. That
He'd be
is
like, that's a this plane.
that's a this plane. And we're like, oh, okay. And so what I've learned is that none of it is accurate. It is all smoke and mirrors when it comes to planes. There are no correct plane usage in any kind of movie.
In any movie. No.
Oh, Paul is the same. Paul also grew up
Is
with
this
an
an aviation thing? Is
It
this
must be an
just men in
aviation thing.
aviation? They
Well,
do this.
in defense of men in aviation, they do have to
They
learn
learn
a preposterous amount of plane facts. So I feel like once you retain that, you really want to be able to show that off. Like, you want to be able to be
You have
like,
to
hang on.
share.
You have to share.
And I have to say, like, I learned a lot about planes from your dad growing up, to the point where it's like sometimes I'm just like, oh, blah blah blah, and people look at me like, why do you know that? like I do.
Because of the pause button.
Thanks,
See?
Dad.
And it's like not as fun to pause anymore. I don't know. I've lost it's streaming has taken away the magic of the fast forward and the pause. You can still do those things, but it's not as fun.
You know,
Well, you can't fast forward now. It just kind of like skips a bit. Like it's not the same as watching everything at high speed with the lines going through it.
No. And you also can't fast forward the commercials. So they've taken away the fun of it, where you're like, you could choose to watch the commercials if you're crazy like me, or you could fast forward them. And now you fast forward and you bump into a commercial because you're cheap and you don't pay for the expensive streaming service. And it just knocks into the commercial, and then it like stops. And then it's like, well, now you're going to watch 17 commercials because you tried to fast forward all the way to this point. So now it's over. So yeah, it's lost the magic. That's the.
But I mean, I have to thank my dad for keeping a lot of the commercials on the tapes that I have.
Because now it's fun to watch.
Because they really show the year that the show was on in, right?
Yeah.
And like, there's one in particular that's really special. It's a Petro-Canada commercial.
Mm-hmm.
But it's for these Winnie the Pooh books that they had.
I remember
put
those
out in 1990. And we just found a bunch of them that we put on our bookshelf for my nephew.
Oh,
When he comes
I
visit.
have I have all of them.
Yeah.
I have
we used
the
to have
whole
all of them
collection.
too, but we can't. There's a few that we couldn't find in boxes.
Yeah.
They need to bring that back. We talked about that on the Jurassic Park episode, because my brother and I collected, I think, all of the
cups.
Jurassic Park books. No, they had books as well. They had cups.
Yes. Yeah.
But they
and
had,
there's,
yeah.
like,
they had the
cups,
dinosaur
and then-
books at the gas station. And I'm like, why do they not do that anymore? It was so cool.
so much
Yeah.
fun.
It made gas
I
feel
mean,
much
it's
more
like
exciting.
one thing that people might remember is, you know, the mustard glasses. So it has like the playing card things on it. So they're black and red, and they have the hearts, the clubs, and the diamonds, and whatever.
Yeah,
and mustard used to come in, and everybody just calls them the mustard glasses. And it's like people still have those, still covet it, and it's kind of the same with this movie. Like memorabilia, like the Winnie the Pooh books, the Jurassic Park books, the sticker collections, the collectible mugs from McDonald's, or or when you
The
went to
Batman
the theater.
Returns storybook that took out everything but the Penguin's plot to discredit Batman.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, this is a weird end to the episode because we don't have a rating system. So I guess instead we will say, have we filled you with enough nostalgia that you now want to start or continue your VHS collection? I am feeling very nostalgic. I'm going to go through and buy some VHS. Josh is already in, so he doesn't get to answer this question. Nat, have we convinced you? Are you going to collect some Betamax? Are you going to go back in further in time?
Try and find them.
I know. I believe
like,
in you.
Does anybody have any Betamax?
I found a Star Trek one at Ottawa Comic Con.
Oh, there you go.
Wow.
It was just an episode of the original series on Betamax. And it's like, oh, that's really cool. I looked at the price of it, though, and the vendor wanted too much for it. So I'm like,
Yeah. So I'm like,
thanks.
no, I'm not going to collect Betamax tapes.
No.
Thank you, but
Thank you, but no.
no. I'm like, I still, if I want to, I mean, I guess now because there's Disney Plus, but before Disney Plus, or even when my internet was out, they were doing some network infrastructure work in my neighborhood a few weeks ago. And I didn't have, like, the internet was down for about 5 days. And I was like, what did we used to do?
What do I do? Yeah, exactly.
And then I'm like, well, I'm going to watch I could watch a movie, and I have TV shows and whatever on VHS or DVD. And I was like, that, and I'll build some Lego and do a puzzle. And but it took me a moment where I'm like,
You're like,
what do I do?
yeah.
Yeah, but it was fun. So it's I enjoy having these old collections of this old multimedia, because, or when I go to the cabin and there's no there's no cell reception, there's barely any internet reception, and it's fun to have something to pop on for the rainy days, and Yeah, it's always been useful, and it's something that I still like in my Amazon cart. I still have DVDs that I buy every once in a while.
Yeah.
I'll treat myself to one that I've
Yeah.
been like hanging out in my save for later purchases.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I always like add a couple here or there because I
Yeah.
still use it when, there's no internet
Yeah.
or when you're
Well,
in an isolated area, like in the middle
yeah.
of the woods.
Well,
Yeah,
before
it's
before we
fun.
close off, I have one more hilarious VHS story to tell.
Bring it.
Please.
So at my cardiology clinic
Mm.
that opened at the Children's Hospital in 1993, they always used to play Disney's Robin Hood on VHS.
It's a good one.
Except
my
they would
favorites.
call me
Most
for
recent
my
favorite.
echo and then to see the doctor midway through the movie. So I never saw the end of the movie
No, I just like this
Until-
story.
until I got it on Blu-ray and I watched the whole movie on Blu-ray. So when I first got, I got the VHS eventually. It's on my shelf. But the day I got it, I said to my parents, I'm going down to watch Robin Hood on VHS. Do not disturb me. And I finally watched the
alone.
whole thing on VHS. But afterwards, my mom was just like, I almost called you up for something midway through the movie.
You'd been like, go away.
One of the things
I'm
I used
glad
to
you
say when I
didn't.
was a little kid, I was very small, like a toddler, like
Yeah.
maybe 2 years old. I'd like go around and I'm playing and I'd be like, "Oh, Delally!" like
Delally.
it was one of my favorite
Yeah.
movies.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
But no,
and I have to say,
V-
rewatching it with my 2-year-old niece, Robin Hood, he still has Riz.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's got Riz.
Yeah, he's most people's like first crush is the Disney animated Fox
Disney
Robin
animated
Hood.
Fox Robin Hood. Yeah, exactly.
Let's be honest.
Oh my gosh. Well, this was so much fun. Thank you so much,
It
Josh,
was.
for hanging out with us and for being
oh, no problem.
patient through tech challenges and everything else. We did it. We made it through Ruthless People and now through the history of VHS. Thank you
Yep.
to all of our incredible Tater Tots who are hanging out in the live studio audience. If we want to be in that studio audience, you can join us most Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, or you can listen or watch the episodes whenever you want, wherever you want. We're all over the place, wherever podcasts getting is got, as my friend Doc says. And special announcement for next week. So if you're watching these or listening to them as they release, right now we are in Thursday, September 19th, 2024. And next Wednesday, so not a Thursday, next Wednesday, we have special guests on and we are going to review Dune. Not the new one, because we live in the past. We're going to review 1980s Dune, which is going to be a trip because spice, not the girls, but the spice, all the spice. And then there's, and I forgot.
The hyper blue eyes.
Hyper blue eyes. I forgot that Patrick Stewart is in it, so that's going to be exciting.
And
There's
Alan McLaughlin and
yep, and it's a David Lynch movie, and we have some special guests coming on, so it's going to be
This is
a
my
lot of
cat,
fun.
Poof Poof. Sorry.
Poof
The
was
live
going to be
studio
there.
audience. She decided to interrupt our filming for the first time ever.
So we hope that you will join us, or if you can't make it on Wednesday, we totally get it. We'll see you in the replay or wherever you want to listen to it. But yeah, and then are you all ready? Because that brings us into spooky season, and we have been doing on our Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, which you can find in the description of this video or on our website. We have we've been doing a face-off, a movie face-off between two different movies. So you guys have been helping us vote which movies we're going to do in October. We have some fun different ones, and people have had some interesting perspectives. So I'm excited to see what the final list is. But we're picking 4. So tomorrow, Friday, you can help us vote for the next spooky movie we choose. So you have to, it's a this or that. You have to pick between the two. You can't just be writing in whatever you want. We have to choose between the two. We'll figure out what we talk about, but we're
It's
almost
like
into
that March
spooky
Madness
season.
bracket.
It's we're pretending we're sporty. We're bracketing these movies out. So we'll see what
pretend
pick the
it's
win.
sports. Let's go, guys.
Pretend it's sports, but also it's scary / spooky
Thriller.
/ Halloweeny. Yeah, it's a good mix. It's a good mix. I think we're gonna watch some good ones, so I'm excited for it.
Ones to raise your heart rate. That's all.
Those are all my updates. Am I missing anything, Nat? I'm terrible at closing shows.
I
Am I
don't
missing
know.
anything?
Hi,
We did
everybody.
it. We did it. Goodbye. We'll see you next
Bye,
time.
everyone.
Thanks for hanging out, and thanks to Josh. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Kitty and Nat, walking the scene with